Hello and welcome into another edition of LFC Transfer Room, where today we're going to be talking about who should be Virgil's number one choice centre-back pairing in the team this season, and also probably about the midfield and maybe who's the attacking options as well. So we'll jump straight into it. I'm joined by Damon and Kev. Start with you, Damon. How are you?
All right, mate. All right, yeah. It's like Spain over here at the moment, isn't it? So yeah, enjoying the weather.
Yeah, it's even worse next week as well. 25 next week.
Get your shorts out, lads. Get your shorts out.
Yeah, I'm all good, Matty. Same as Damo there, looking forward to the weather and looking like a big fat tomato next week. So all good, mate. How are you?
Fed up of work, to be honest. Fed up. Liverpool traffic, horrendous. We'll jumping straight into it. Start with you, Damon. Virgil van Dijk is pretty much nailed on as the number one centre-back part in Liverpool. Then you've got Canate, Matip and Joe Gomez, who's just signed a new deal that'll keep me until he's 30, I believe. Who would you go into the season being Van Dijk's? What would be your number one choice centre-back pair?
What an option that we have to pick that three. I mean, all three of them have really lived up to every expectation that we up from them, and they've all given a good fight, haven't they? None of them have really backed off in performances. They've really, pushed for their spot in a way. But for me, I'd have to go with Canate, just because I think this guy can be a different level to what Matip and Gomez is. I know Matip and Gomez are class in their own right, but I think Canate could be like, I want to say Van Dijk level, but pushing up to that sort of spectrum rather than staying on the same level as Matip and Gomez.
Yeah. What about you, Kev? What would be your number one?
Similar to what Damo said, he makes a good shout for Canate. But for me, after his appearance last season, it's got to be Matty, who starts alongside Virgil. And most prominent in the Premier League last season of appearances between them, 34 for Virgil, 31 for Matty, and I think it'll start with that. But again, I agree with what Damo said about Canate. I think he is an extra special player, and eventually he will be the number one. You could see that last season as well. He started playing more of the finals as well. Especially in the Champions League final. I thought that would have been nailed on for Matip to start, but again, he's come in. But fair shout from Damo for Canate, but for me, I'd have to stay with what's worked well, which would be Matip. Who would be yours, Matty?
See, I think Joe Matip's the second best centre half in world football, to be honest. So I'd probably go with him. I love him when fit. I think we've managed him fantastically well this year. Only playing him in the Prem games, it seems, and leaving the cup games to somebody else. I think that's the way to go with Matip. So I do think if we were focusing on Premier League, I'd say Virgil's partner will probably be Matip. I think in Champions League, it'll probably be a mixture of Canate and Gomez.
Just think though, I don't think we'd be that bothered, would we? Let's be honest. I think even if it's Gomez, I think a fully fit Gomez is just as good anyway. So
yeah,
I mean,
I
agree. He was unbelievable.
Could argue Gomez and Van Dijk won us the league, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, those two have Gomez and Van Dijk have set the highest average goal points, which is 2.56, I think it is. So they were the dominant force until sadly Joe gets injured. But I agree. You wouldn't feel fearful if any of the three started. Any of them started alongside Virgil, because they'll just do if not a better job. Do you know what I mean? So we've got a wonderful of talent there. For me, I think, especially at centre half.
Even into Gary Oluwapez, I hope I said your name right, Kyle. Shedu, good to see you. Make sure you are leaving a like and subscribe on the video if you're new round here as well. Damon makes a good point there. I mean, Kev makes a good point there, Damon, about Gomez. Him and Van Dijk, unbelievable together. Do you see him getting back to that and being maybe the nailed-on starter and the one we do turn to? Because Canate, I think, made massive strides last season. And I do think Canate is probably more the long term for Virgil van Dijk, because he still is only 22, something like that. Would you think Gomez with him?
I think Gomez has just been unlucky, and I think that injury just. Before that, you thought Van Dijk and Gomez were going to be our centre back pairing for like 5-6 years. Even Matty wasn't even in the question really then back then until Gomez got injured. And then Matip sort of like got this another level from nowhere. I don't know where it came from, but no one complained. And Gomez found it hard to get back in the team, didn't he? And since Konaté's come in, that's another player to push for start. You know, he's already trying to get over Matip. I think it'd be a shame to see him drop back and stay back. I think he's got potential to get back to the level that he has, but whether he gets into the first team, it's a big ask, isn't it? Because he's just got two wonderful players to push for. I mean, it'd be nice to even give Virgil a rest now and then.
Yeah, Kev always makes a comment here about teams that have fast attackers. Gomez should start. Then there's the argument that Konaté is rapid as well. Against teams that do have fast attackers, say we were playing Manchester City tomorrow, would it be Konaté or Gomez for you in terms of pace and all-round defensive ability?
Going from that comment, you probably go with Gomez. There's an argument to go with Gomez and Konaté. I think eventually we will see what Damo's alluded to, which is we will see Virgil having a bit more rest time than what he normally does. But for me, I'd have to start with Konaté and Virgil if we're playing City tomorrow. I just think his positional sense of Virgil and also the muscular of Konaté who can deal. It then gives Haaland another option to go to if he's going down that centre of who do I want to battle? Do I want to go with someone who's positionally sound and I don't win nothing against? Or do I have another physical battle against someone who's just as big and is a mirror image of Virgil, but a younger and fitter and will keep up with me? So for me, it'd have to be those two at the minute, mainly because of the injuries that Gomez has experienced, and he's trying to get back up to that kind of level again. But that's who I'd go with.
Would you agree, Damon?
Oh yeah, definitely. I just think that Konaté is, like I said earlier, I think he's built like Virgil in a way. I think he can sort of reach that level more than the other two. So I think it's just set up for those two to be our centre back for like 3-4 years now.
With Gomez though, what's exciting for me is I think the long-term first choice options, Kev, in say 5 years, maybe even 3 to 4 years, depends how long Virgil goes, will probably be massive. I mean, Gomez and Konaté, won't it?
Definitely. And it's good that he signed that extension because it now gives him more time to work alongside, the best centre back in the world at the minute and get himself up to that kind of level of making sure he's always he's always on his game. He knows his positional sense and will just come on leaps and bounds. The only worry I've got with Gomez is another serious injury. He can't keep having these injuries every now and again, and I hope he's over it for his own good. But I agree. In 3 years' time, him and Konaté will be our starting two, definitely.
There's a comment here, Damon. Matip will be phased out next season from Gary. Do you say that's fair? Maybe if with Gomez signing that 5-year extension, is that a statement of intent in the sense of maybe it'll be Konaté and Virgil for most games with Gomez getting the extra minutes?
Possibly. He could possibly be phased out just because of his injuries and the age. He's getting on a bit now. It depends. I think it depends how it goes this season. If he stays fit as long as he can, then I think he has a good shout for staying. But I mean, we're already looking at another centre back this season, aren't we? We're linked to that Barcelona young lad, that Ronald Araujo.
Yeah,
we're linked with him. So I think we are in the market for a centre back, and that only tells you one thing, that we're phasing someone out, because we're not going to go with 5 centre backs, 5 big centre backs. One's going to have to go, and that would probably be Matip, unfortunately. As much as how good he is, at some point he's going to leave in the next 2-3 years. Seems
like Hollow agrees as well, Kev. Konaté in the Champions League, Gomez in League. Yeah. Everyone's phasing Matip out. Do you think his games ran at Liverpool is still world class?
I don't think it is. I think eventually you are going to do that. You are going to phase one of them out, and he would be the one that you would probably go to more than what Virgil would be. But again, why have that? Why are we saying this? Do you know what I mean? It should be like, let's just see what happens. The good thing about this is we're evolving that centre half position, and we're evolving it well, and we're not actually bringing in too many in that stagnates it, and that's what we kind of need. So even if it's next year and he starts phasing them out, maybe the year after, I'd say more so myself. It depends how Matty starts, and it depends how all three of them keep each other in competition during the season. We have more options there now, and again, it gives us an option in certain games to rest the likes of Virgil. Do you know what I mean? Especially when you've got Champions League playing, we're playing 3 times in a week, and you're then alluding to, well, is it really necessary to have Virgil playing when you've got 2 decent backups as what we have? The options we've got are better than anyone, I think, in the Premier League at centre half.
I completely agree as well, and especially with the World Cup, Virgil will play every single game over there. With him being the Netherlands captain, he'll play every game he's in. Damon, do you think it's a good idea to rest Virgil at times, isn't it? It'll probably prolong his career that little bit more if he's not playing every single game for us.
We've got the 4-class centre backs. We need to use them all. I think there's a reason why we've signed Gomez onto a long-term contract. There's a reason why we've got Konate in last season. It's because we can give people like Matip and Virgil a rest that they need. Matip and Gomez are very injury prone, and they've proven that in the last couple of years. So we need that extra man. Whether it be Konate being the extra man or Gomez, it's just nice to have. It's nice to have those 4 centre backs, and Virgil will need that rest. Like you said, the World Cup's coming up, and that's just going to take a lot out of him. What, we're going to get like 2-week rest after it? I think that's not long enough. So I can see it as soon as after that World Cup, depending on the fixtures as well. I haven't really looked at the fixtures towards after the World Cup and towards coming up, leading towards it. But if they've got some pretty easy fixtures, like FA Cup starts, doesn't it, in January? So you're going to see rest there anyway. So yeah, I think it's perfect scenario for Liverpool. I think the centre backs are no problem at all.
Matty, you've also got to look at, we've never had this opportunity of resting Virgil in the way that we can do this season going forward. We've never had that option at centre half where we can rest our best and rely on our, not on the fringe players to come in and do a job. We tried it against Leicester, and we had to change it up straight away after the first half performance in the League Cup at home. So we're going into uncharted waters, you could say, in the fact that we may see Virgil playing far less, maybe against the lower league sides in the league, and playing more dominantly, more in the bigger games that we need. But it's a great option that I haven't seen us have at centre half in the past since Klopp's been here. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's good for us that we've got that kind of power behind us, that it doesn't matter who comes in, it'll come straight in and do a job for us.
I can't remember ever having this sort of centre backs like this. I mean, when we had Karen Napier behind that, we had Marcus Babel that could play centre back, but it was mainly right back, wasn't it? We didn't really have that four class centre backs that could rotate every 6 weeks or whatever.
I think the main thing is resting him in Virgil, and we've seen him play against, like, I think sure he come on against Shrewsbury, didn't he? Or he started, and he played in some of the FA Cup games where you don't really need him, to be honest. But it's good to see. It is good to see depth in that option. I think it's only our midfield, isn't it now, really, Damon? That does really need addressing, because the attacking front's flying. You could argue, even losing Mane, I think Diaz was his long-term replacement anyway. And the defence is flying as well, isn't it?
It's a reliability for me in that midfield. I think it's the fact that when Thiago missed last season, and it killed us. I think those games killed us. We had Martin, Milner, and who else was it? Was it Naby or something like that? It's not good in midfield when you're fighting for the title every season and fighting for Champions League. It's those sort of games. I remember someone saying about Liverpool being unlucky that we lost a couple of points. Referee decision against it. But if you bring in a world-class midfielder, you're taking a look out of your situation. We don't want to rely on luck to win this. And obviously, you do need luck, but we don't want getting a world-class midfielder in says we're not relying on luck. We're relying on ourselves. We need someone that can really push Henderson for a start and push people like Thiago for a start. Thiago's not going to play every game. He's not going to play every game, and the drop off after that is it's too much. It's too much for a title challenging team. It's too much. If you want to win all the trophies, it's too much, I think.
Although I do think we still will win the league regardless. I'm not going to focus on midfield too much because I can't be asked speaking about Bellingham again. I feel that's all I spoke about. So I'll throw this one to you, Kev. With Mane, Divock and Minamino all gone, who do you think's going to back up the forwards this year? Because I think your starting forwards are going to be Diaz, Salah and Núñez, aren't they? Probably Jota coming off the bench because he is more effective. But who else backs up them forwards if they did need a rest?
For me, you're looking at Carvalho. You're looking at possibly Elliott. You're looking at possibly, and it should be, Curtis Jones playing in a more familiar role as what he played when he was in our academy and in the under-23s. So that's where I think, I'll be honest, Matty, I think we will try and evolve to a 4-2-3-1. I'm open to see that in pre-season, to be honest, to see if we are going to do that, and that's the approach. It makes more sense to have the options that we have, but they are flexible, those three that I've just mentioned, who can also play in the midfield if required to. I know they're not everyone's first option, and hesitance. You got Jones, who's like Marmite at the minute with the fan base of when he starts games. So it's, for me, that's how I'd start. I'd have Elliott as backup at the minute for Salah. I'd have for even Bobby as well. We haven't mentioned Bobby either. Do you know what I mean? So, I think he could come into his own in playing that number 10, and it'll help Carvalho for his future in playing and adopting that false nine approach as well, which he's good at doing. I think we've got. I think when you look at it in that kind of formation, we have more options than what we do say at the minute in a 4-3-3, in which you're relying then on the main starting 11, especially in midfield. Those starting three to be your main three and stay fit all season, which we can't really rely on because two of them are made out of quavers, being Thiago and Keita. Do you know what I mean?
They only. Kev makes a good point there about the 4-2-3-1, and I think all our signings this year would indicate that happening. I mean, I got Kris to look into it for us, who's actually just passed us one of his coaching badges again. So big well done to him. He'll be back on the channel soon. But I asked him about Coutinho, because I think Carvalho is a very similar player to Coutinho, and he said Coutinho under Klopp started on the left of a 4-3-3. Now, I think Carvalho's come in to start. I think he's an exciting wonder kid, to be fair. And then with Núñez being that prominent number 9, at Dortmund, he did seem to play a 4-2-3-1 at times because he had Aubameyang at one time and he had Lewandowski before that. So do you think we will change to a 4-2-3-1, or could you see us maybe going into a 4-3-3 and then Carvalho's then cover for the left side? You got Bobby and Jota for the middle, etc.
I think he'll play it against certain teams. I think he'll play it against the low block teams, especially because when we're playing against the low block teams, all we're doing is crossing the ball, and we're not getting anyone in the box. We're getting maybe one striker, but playing a 4-2-3-1 gives us that extra man in the box, that number 10 that can make the late runs. I think they're the ones where they've got an extra player to worry about coming into the box. Is gonna really break those teams down, because when we're against those teams, those are the games that we mess up in. Those low blocks, we seem to either create loads of chances and just don't finish them, or we're just crossing and spam crossing in a way, a bit like against Tottenham. We came up against Tottenham, and that ended up we lost the title because of that game. That was the game that if we won, we'd have won the title. And it would just cross after cross, and it was just getting cleared. And we needed something different, and that was the only thing we could do. That was the only thing we knew. And if we have a number 10, it gives an extra man for the defence to think about. And that is the formation that will beat these low block teams, I think. So I do think he'll bring it in, but not all season. I think he'll just play against the low block teams for that formation.
I also think he'll be crafty with it. I think he'll be crafty with it as well. Pretend to be playing a 4-2-3-1, but actually it is actually a 4-3-3 against teams. Very rarely, again, a bit like the centre-half position, in which we're very lucky at. We have never had that option of a different formation, as well as the players to back it up with as well. So, bodes well. I think. Sorry to butt in, by the way, Matty.
It's all right. But Gary says he thinks it'll be a 4-3-3 with Darwin or Starwin, the vocal point of the three. That'll be harder for teams to play again. You could argue, put this to Avery, as you could argue that Darwin Núñez is that plan B. We've got that big vocal point striker that we've been crying out for years, because as good as our front three was, we never seem to have that plan B against the low block sides. Now, whether that be a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, surely Darwin coming in is that plan B in itself.
Problem is with Darwin is he doesn't drop in. He doesn't drop in like a Bobby Firmino would or a Jota would. So that gives the problem where there's going to be a massive gap now in between the defence and our midfield. Thiago and Enzo are the most forward-thinking players in terms of making runs forward. There's only really Naby and Naby, maybe past that you got Elliott and Curtis Jones, but you're not going to play them in the first team. So I think that 4-2-3-1 is the important one because we've got a number 10 there in those gaps. Coutinho would have been perfect right now in this team. I also think Coutinho would have been perfect. When Coutinho went into the middle, he played like a 4-3-3, didn't he? He didn't really play number 10. He played part of a middle three, and I think it suited him more because he got more of the ball. And that's when it's been shifted to number 10 now.
Well, you Kev, with 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, if we went into the season knowing we were playing in a 4-2-3-1, would you feel more comfortable if we didn't make any more additions? Because you do have like Thiago, Fabinho, Henderson, Milner, all in that double pivot, and then your attacking options, then anyone can play in them four positions.
I probably would feel a little bit more confident with doing that, as well as playing the 4-2-3-1. It doesn't have to be Darwin who plays in that. You could put him on the left and put Jota through the middle if it needs to be as well. Do you know what I mean? I know it'll never happen, but there are options there because Darwin does like coming in as an inverted winger from the left-hand side. So it does give us more options. I think it would benefit us playing a 4-2-3-1, especially with the likes of Bobby and the amount of space he'll be able to create, not only for himself, but for whoever it is that dominant number 9, whether it is Darwin or if he's on the bench for whatever reason. He'll create that space, and then you've got the likes of Curtis Jones. You'll feel a little bit more probably confidence in playing in that team as well. It gives us more. I think we, if we don't buy anyone else, I'd be looking at that. But in the big games like against City and that, I think it'll revert back to the 4-3-3.
Oh, he makes a good point here as well, Damon, about needing a Salah backup. It'll come up. Would you agree on that? Because at the minute, we've seen Diaz play out there a few times, but I hate seeing players not playing in actual position. So we've only really got Elliott who can cover that right side. Jota, I can't think of a good game he's had on the right, if I'm being perfectly honest. He's unbelievable through the middle and on the left, but on the right, not so good.
Yeah. Apart from Elliott and Ox, we haven't really got a right winger as such, have we? Not as backup Salah. I mean, Elliott and Ox want to be midfielders now, so I sort of rule them out in a way. I think Elliott do a good job at replacing him, but it's just not the same, is it? Salah, we've got Jota, Diaz, and Núñez that all could play left, and Carvalho could play on the left as well. The fact that Salah has no one pushing him really worries me, because last season Salah after AFCON he dropped off, and he knew we were going to start every week. That's the problem.
Yeah.
If you have someone pushing you, then you sort of step up your game. As soon as Kostas Tsimikas came in to push Robbo somehow got a second wind. And we saw that. I think that's what Salah needs, a kick up the backside sometimes. As much as how much we love him now, how great he is. He shouldn't think, this is my place, that's it. I've got no one behind me pushing me. I know I'm not going to get dropped next week. We don't want to turn into Man United. That's what Maguire thinks every week. You know what I'm saying? No one's pushing him. So he knows he's going to start the next week. He don't matter how he plays.
Do you think, Kev, that Liverpool may be looking at it in a sense of Salah's not going the World Cup, he's fit as a fiddle? The midfield probably needs addressing more so than a right winger who's not going to play ahead of Salah. Do you think that's how we're maybe looking at it?
Yeah, that's how I'm seeing it. I think we're more weaker in the midfield than we are up. I think we're top heavy, and I think our priority should be that midfield and bringing in someone in. But I don't want to bring someone in just for need's sake, because there's money there, and we do in United and just bring in players just for the sake of it. I want the right player in there, and if whether that's either Bellingham, which we've talked about a million times, I think Matty's probably could go to sleep just still talking about it. You know what I mean? But you've also got Barella. There's other options there, and we've all talked about who they are. It'll be the right option, and I think that's where we're looking at now. Whether that's this season, that's why if we don't bring anyone in, it's important that we address that first thing, priority, and make sure we get the person that we want. And if we don't, we have a relatively very good backup if we don't get plan A. Salah, I agree with Damo and yourself. I think he does need that kind of kick up his backside, and especially in January when his head was down after the AFCON February time, and it started to show in certain games near the end of the season where he was being taken off and that because he wasn't scoring, and you can see how he starts getting into that little sulky mood, which I quite like in a way, in the fact that, all right, then well, I'll show you next game kind of thing, but it never happened. Do you know what I mean? I like his bullish comments about Real Madrid, but we'll leave it there with that one. But to me, he does need a push, but my priority at the minute would be midfield, 100%.
Yeah, before we go on to the final talking point, I just want to raise this from Alu. I think with Anthony, there must be something up with them in terms of attitude, work ethic, or something like that. Because Manchester United seems to have a free run at this signing, and he's meant to be unbelievably promising. What would you say, Damon? Do you think?
I won't take much into Man United's free runs, because the Man United free runs, you might as well have 6 clubs coming after him, because they just mess about, don't they? I mean, they're a laughing stock of Man United. They could have, they could find a fiver on the floor, and somehow they'll still manage to trip over several times just to pick it up. So I won't even look at Man United's push for an Anthony, because I think Anthony is an absolute prospect. I hope Man United don't get him, because I know what he can do, and I've seen him play a couple of times. I'm like, wow, this guy's got something. And I know it's on a Dutch league, but when you know someone's got something, you know someone's got something. Whether he can bring that to Premier League, that's a different matter. But to back up Salah, that would be unbelievable, because he's young. He'll be ready to learn off Salah. I don't think he'd mind being on the bench and being a backup to Salah and push Salah for a start. And we know that we're not going to drop off too much. I know he's not a Salah, but it's still someone. I think he'll really will push defenses apart in Premier League.
To him, isn't it? Like, because he does look the real deal.
He does, and it's the age as well. I think he's a perfect signing in terms of backing up Salah as well, because he won't mind being on the bench, if that makes sense. And I think he can push Salah and keep Salah on his toes. And regarding Sangaré, that would be perfect. We'd have to get a stopgap signing as such, because we still can get Jude Bellingham next season. I think Sangaré is not a stopgap. I think we're just putting limits on ourselves in a way by saying that. I do believe we need 2 centre midfielders.
Yeah.
Because Milner's old now, Henderson's going downhill. After that, you can't just rely on youngsters all the time. I know Sangare's youngster, but he's already got that nous, I think, as a centre midfielder, whilst Elliott's trying to learn. Jones is still not there yet. I think Sangaré would be perfect. I really do.
Yeah. Final point then before we go, I'll go to you first, Kevin, you, Damon. If the transfer window was to shut today, do you think Liverpool can win the league? Start with you, Kev.
100%, yeah. I think we've done great business. I think we've just gone along, and if you take all the everything out of it and just look at what Liverpool have done themselves, they've been calm, they've been right up there, and they've brought in the players that they wanted to. They identified who they wanted to come in. They've come in. We've even got the Salah situation sorted and dusted before even a ball's been kicked, or in fact anyone's come back insane. So that just shows how good they are. We can all say who we want, and and play Football Manager, but I'm quite happy with what Klopp's doing, and for Julian Ward in his first proper summer transfer window, he's on his way to building at least a mould of the statue that will be ready for him when he finishes.
I'd echo that. I always think we can win everything. Champions League, everything. What about you, Damon? Can we win the league? I mean, City brought in probably one of the most exciting youngsters, and then Erling Haaland as well. Calvin Phillips made some good additions himself. We still win the league.
Of course we can. Of course we can. We've got the best manager in the world. On paper, if we keep us best 11, we've got the best 11 in the world. Let's not brush over those facts, because City can buy Ireland all they want. You know, we still create more chances than them. You know, we still create bigger chances than them. They scored more goals than last season, because we just missed chance after chance after chance. You know, yeah, they're going to score more this season with Haaland, possibly more than this. But so we've got Nunez. You know, we've got a proper striker now up front that can bag those goals. But we rue those missed chances all the time, and those games we're not gonna do that as much now with a proper number 9. So yeah, of course we're going to win the league. It's just keeping certain players fit. I do worry about the midfield, like we've been talking about. I do worry about, because if Thiago gets injured, I can't see us really push it. Depending on the fixtures as well and how many games they miss. That's the problem. I think it's the fixtures. If they miss like Fulham, you know, Nottingham Forest, you know, it's not too bad. But when they're missing the big games, you need them, and it's going to kill us. I do believe that. But of course we can win the league. I think we can win the quadruple again.
I think we'll win everything because of this man. To be fair, Luis Diaz. People forget he hasn't had a pre-season under Jurgen Klopp yet. This is his first pre-season under Jurgen, which I think is huge for him. He's going to be special. Then he's got Nunez in front of him. Both probably can speak the same language after playing in Portugal, which is massive for linking up with Diaz. So promising. I think we'll.
And he's not going to the World Cup either.
Yeah, more rest. It's perfect for Liverpool. But we'll leave it there because it's like an oven in this room. But yeah, nice one to Damon and Kev for coming on. If you're new around here, don't forget to leave a like and a subscribe because it's so awesome here. I deserve it. But yeah, nice one to Damon and Kev. We've been LFC Transfer Room, and don't forget to tune in tomorrow at 7:30. We're here every day for a stream. We'll be discussing. I think it's the podcast tomorrow actually, so that's an interesting one. Tune into that.